Welcome back, dears. Today I will explain a new lesson in your supplementary textbook, A House is Not a Home. This story highlights the thin difference between a house and a home. While a house is a building where people live, a home is a place where a family lives together, sharing the unique bond of love and oneness. The narrator's house gets destroyed by fire and he gets a new house. Then he realizes that his home is the one built by the love and affection of his family and loved ones. Love and affection of one's family is very precious. This is the theme of this lesson. And now I'll explain the lesson in detail. So here we can see the mentality of a child who is in adolescent period. My first year of high school felt awkward after leaving junior high at the head of my school with all the seniority the per grade levels could afford me. It felt strange starting over as a freshman. The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. I felt very isolated. So here we can see a child who get transformed to another school. In order to pursue his studies, in order to pursue his high school, he is being moved to another school. And in the previous school, he was the head of the school. He was a head boy of the school, and he was enjoying all the luxuries being in that state. But now, starting as a freshman means a student in the first year of high school, college, or university. That is called a freshman. So, starting as a freshman was a little bit awkward for him, and the thing is that the school is too big compared to his old school. It is too big, and he is even missing his old friends. So, in the new school, he was feeling very isolated. I miss my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. They could encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. So, even after joining in the new school, he used to visit his old school and he used to share his loneliness to his old teachers. And they used to encourage him to participate in school activities and meet new people. And they told him that if you're doing like this, you will get new friends and you will soon adjust with the scenario. And they even made him promise that even after getting new friends, after adjusting with your new school, you should again come back and see to them. One Sunday afternoon, not longer after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at a dining room table doing homework. It was a cold and windy fall day, and we had a fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was laying on top of all my papers, purring loudly and occasionally squatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. So here we can see a tragedy happened in his family. Okay, and it happened on a Sunday afternoon, and he was sitting in his dining room table. He was sitting in this dining room and doing his homework over the table, and his very sweet cat was also there, and it was just laying on the top of his papers, and the color was, it is a red tabby cat, and it was occasionally purring. Purring means a sound made by cats is called purring, and squatting means to hit something. So the cat was laying on his papers, and occasionally it used to squat, it used to hit on his pen just for the entertainment. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. So here we can see the bond between the cat and the narrator. Once the narrator had saved the life of this cat, and the cat is also aware that he only gave her a good life. My mother kept stalking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. Suddenly, I smelled something strange, and then I noticed it smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see. So, here is the tragedy. See, in the same day, his mother was just stoking the fire, means feeding the fire, putting the firewood in the fireplace and giving a warmth to the house, and all of a sudden it started spreading. Okay, and it started getting serious, and the whole house was just full of this smoke, and they were unable to see even each other. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out into the front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So the here we can see the description of the tragedy. Okay, all of a sudden the fire just spread all over the house and they were just groping means to search blindly, and they were just searching blindly because it was totally full of smoke. Okay, and they just ran out of the front yard, and while the time they just went outside, the whole room was engulfed means surrounded with flames, and it was spreading quickly. And all of a sudden the narrator, he just ran to the neighbors to call the fire department, and while he was doing the same, his mother just ran back into the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and, in a crazed state, ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. They were the only things that she had to remember him by. Still, I screamed at her, "Mom, no." Here we can see, while the narrator was making a call to the fire department, his mother just ran into the house, and all of a sudden she came out carrying a small metal box, and it was full of the important documents. And all of a sudden she just dropped that in the lawn, and again she just went back into the house. And he knew for what reason she just went inside the house, because she just wanted to save the precious memories of his dead father. Okay, his father has passed away when he was very young, and few pictures and letters of him is only memory for his mother. So in order to save that, in order to take it back from the burning house, she just went inside the house, and but the writer was not having that mind state to let her go inside, so he was crying, "Mom, no." I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I couldn't have even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother is there." He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically, and if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. "It is all right, they will get her," he said. When the mother just ran into the house, the boy, he was not having the mindset to let her go inside. So he was also about to run inside the burning house. But someone called him, and it was a fireman. And the fireman was behaving properly, because the writer was not acting logically. Okay, he was out of the world, out of his mind, and the fireman just made him understand that the other firefighters, they will just rescue his mother. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. So what the fireman who called the boy has done, he just made him wrapped in a blanket and made him sat on his own car. And after a while, the other fireman, he just came out of the house holding his mom in tow means behind. In tow means behind. Behind the fireman, he had seen his mother. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. Right now, the other firefighter has brought his mother out of the burning house, and immediately after she reached there, the firefighters have given her an oxygen mask because obviously she might be suffocating due to the smoke in that burning house. So they just gave her an oxygen mask, and all of a sudden the writer just ran over her and hugged her. And till this time, he used to even argue with his mother and he used to even hate his mother. But all this hatred and all his negative feelings are all of a sudden vanished. She's going to be okay, said the fireman. She just inhaled a little smoke and then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. Our house was almost completely burned down. But then it struck me. I hadn't seen my cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Then all at once it hit me. The new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried and cried. I was suffering loss big time. Right now, the mother and the boy both are safe. And after bringing them out of the burning house, the fireman again just went back to do his work. Okay, and mother and the child, they were sitting outside and they just looking out what is happening to their house. And he understood that all of his house is just burned down and he doesn't have anything to do with that. And that time he realized that what about his cat? He till that time he was just unaware about it. He has forgotten about the cat, but now he started worrying about his cat, and all of a sudden he was totally shaken because he is not happy with his new school, and now see what happened to his home and what happened to his beloved cat. He has lost everything and he started crying a lot. The fireman wouldn't let us go back into the house that night. It was still too dangerous, dead or alive. I couldn't imagine living without knowing about my cat. Regardless, I had to go. We piled into the car with just the clothes on our backs and a few of the fireman's blanket and made our way to my grandparents' house to spend the night. So by evening, the fireman was able to control the fire, and they haven't allowed the writer and his mother to enter the house that night because it was still very dangerous. The smoke is there, it will be choking and suffocating for them. And the narrator, he was totally worried about his cat. He is not aware whether his cat is dead or alive, but he has to move from this place, and they decided that they will go to his grandparents' house to spend that night. And they were just having some clothes in their backpacks and a few blankets given by the fireman. The next day, Monday, I went to school. When the fire broke out, I was still wearing the dress I had worn to church that morning, but I had no shoes. I had kicked them off when I was doing my homework. They became yet another casualty of the fire, so I had to borrow some tennis shoes from my aunt. Why couldn't I just stay home from school? My mother wouldn't hear of it, but I was totally embarrassed by everything. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. I had no books or homework, and my backpack was gone. I had my life in that backpack. The more I tried to fit in, the worse it go. Was I destined to be an outcast and a geek all my life? That is what I feel like. I didn't want to grow up, change, or have to handle the life if it was going to be this way. I just wanted to curl up and die. So here we can see the sad phase the writer is going through. Okay, on that day he had just moved to his grandparents' house, and the next day it was Monday, and his mother has forced him to go to the school. And In the previous day, in Sunday, he was just wearing the clothes he had taken to his church. The same dress he was wearing, and he was not even wearing his shoes, because while he was doing the homework, he just kicked them out of his way. So these shoes were also burned in the fire. So right now when he is going back to his school, he was totally embarrassed because his clothes was not the uniform, and he was not having the books or homework, and he is not even having the backpack, because in his backpack they have already stuffed the important things. So he is not even having the backpack. He is not looking like a ordinary student. So he was looking so embarrassed, he was feeling so embarrassed, and he was just cursing himself that whether he is being a person who is destined to be an outcast. An outcast means a person rejected by society, and he was totally pessimistic, and he just wanted to end up his life. He just wanted to even die. I walked around school like a zombie. Everything felt surreal, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house, and my cat all had been ripped away. Here we can see the total loss of the writer. Okay, when he was in the school, he was feeling like he's a zombie. Zombie means a dull person, and for him everything was strange, and he doesn't know what is going to happen in the next moment, because all his safe zones were just taken away. It is just being torn apart. His old schools, his friends, and now even his house and his passionate cat. He has lost everything. So he is totally pessimistic right now. When I walked through what used to be my house after school that day, I was shocked to see how much damage there was. Whatever had been burned was destroyed by the water and chemicals they had used to put out the fire. The only material things not destroyed were the photo albums, documents, and some other personal items that my mother had managed to heroically rescue. But my cat was gone, and my heart ached for her. So after the school time, the writer had visited his old house, and he was totally shocked to see the condition of his beloved house. Everything was destroyed. The things that were not destroyed by the fire was destroyed by the water and the chemicals the fireman has used to put out the fire. And the only things that were saved was the photo albums, documents, and some other personal items that were heroically rescued by his own mother. And he was totally disheartened for his cat. There was no time to grieve. My mother rushed me out of the house. We could have to find a place to live, and I would have to buy some clothes for school. We had to borrow money from my grandparents because there were no credit cards, cash, or even any identification to be able to withdraw money from the bank. Everything had gone up in the smoke. Here we can see the critical situation what his mother and he is facing right now. Okay, yeah, they were just living with his grandparents, and now they are in a situation to borrow some money from his grandparents, because right now they are not having the credit cards, the cash, or even any bank details in order to withdraw the money from the bank. Everything had gone up in the smoke. That week, the rubble that used to be our house was being cleared off the lot. Even though we had rented an apartment nearby, I would go over to watch them clear away debris, hoping that my cat was somewhere to be found. She was gone. I kept thinking about her as that vulnerable little kitten. In the early morning, when I would disturb her and get out of the bed, she would tag along after me, climb up my robe, and crawl into my pocket to fall asleep. I was missing her terribly. So, even after living in a rented apartment, he used to visit his old house, his burnt house, and he was seeing all the damaged items, all the waste materials are cleaned over there, and in that waste materials, he was even searching for his cat. He was thinking that maybe under that his cat might be there, but she was not there, and he was totally thinking about his cat, and he was even thinking how he used to disturb the cat while it is sleeping, and how she will come along with him and climb up his robe and crawl into his pocket and even fall asleep inside his pocket. And the writer was totally missing her cat. It always seems that bad news spreads quickly, and in my case, it was not different. Everyone in high school, including the teachers, was aware of my plight. I was embarrassed as if somehow I were responsible. What a way to start off at a new school! This was not a kind of attention I was looking for. In the beginning of the lesson, I have told you in his previous school, he was the star of the school. But in the new school, he was totally isolated. He was not having even a friend. But after this news, after this incident happened in his life, he became famous in his school. Not for a good reason, but for a bad reason. Because of his plight. Plight means a sad story. His sad story just spread like a forest fire. And everyone was looking at him, even his teachers, all were aware about his sad story, and he doesn't want to be known in this way. He doesn't want to be a star in this way. He doesn't want to get the attention in this way. The next day at school, people were acting even more strange than usual. I was getting ready for gym class at my locker. People were milling around me, asking me to hurry up. I thought it strange, but in the light of the past few weeks, nothing would surprise me. It almost seemed that they were trying to shove me into the gym. Then I saw why. There was a big table set up with all kinds of stuff on it, just for me. They had taken up a collection and bought me school supplies, notebooks, all kinds of different clothes, jeans, top, sweatsuits. It was like Christmas. I was overcome by emotion. People who had never spoken to me before were coming up to me to introduce themselves. I got all kinds of invitations to their houses. Their genuine outpouring of concern really touched me. Here we can see the attitude of his new friends, his new school. See, one day he was just getting ready for his gym class at his locker, and the people were milling around him. Milling means moving around aimlessly around him, and they were just asking him to hurry up. And he thought that there will be nothing special because it is a usual situation over there. But there was an unusual thing. The thing was that he had seen a big table set up with all kinds of stuff he needs. The teachers and the students have collected everything for him, even the school supplies, notebooks, all kinds of different clothes, and it was just like Christmas for him because he got a lot of gifts. So it was like a Christmas for him. And he was just overcome by the emotion, and the people who hasn't spoken to him before were coming up to introduce himself or themselves, and he got he got many invitations to many houses, and their genuine concern towards him really touched him. In that instant, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and thought for the first time that things were going to be okay. I made friends that day. So, the moment he totally understood the nature of his new friends, he was having an optimistic feeling towards life, and he thought that the things are gonna to be okay, and he got new friends today. A month later, I was at my house watching them rebuild, but this time it was different. I wasn't alone. I was with two of my new friends from school. It took a fire for me to stop focusing on my feelings of insecurity and open up to the wonderful people around me. Now I was sitting there watching my house being rebuilt when I realized my life was doing the same thing. Here we can see what happened after a month. So again, they were just rebuilding their house, and this time he is not alone. He is with his friends, with his two friends from this new school. And for him, this incident, this burning the fire incident, made him understood the real nature of people, and he is now able to understand that we should open up to the wonderful people around us. And now he was in a feeling that Like the house is being rebuilt, his life is also going to be rebuilt in a very beautiful way. While we sat there on the crib planning my new bedroom, I heard someone walk up to me from behind and say, "Does this belong to you?" When I turned around to see who it was, I couldn't believe my eyes. A woman was standing there holding my cat. I leapt up and grabbed her out of the woman's arms. Again, we can see a very positive thing, a very wonderful happening in his life. They were just sitting on the curb. Curb means edge of the pavement, and they were just planning about his new bedroom. And that time he heard a voice from his back. And the question was, "Does this belong to you?" And when he turned to see who it was, he was totally astonished to see a woman standing there holding his cat in her arms. And what the writer has done, he just leapt up and grabbed her out of the woman's arm. He just grabbed the cat out of the woman's arms. I held her close to me and cried into that beautiful orange fur. She purred happily. My friends were hugging me, hugging the cat, and jumping around. So a wonderful incident happened in the life of the author, and he is just happy to see his beloved cat back, and he just cried while seeing it, and even the friends were happy, and the cat was happy, and all were jumping around. Apparently, my cat had been so freaked by the fire that she ran over a mile away. Her collar had our phone number on it, but our phones had been destroyed and disconnected. This wonderful woman took her in and worked hard to find out whose cat it was. Somehow she knew this cat was loved and sorely missed. Right now we can see what happened to the cat actually. So due to this fire, the cat was so freaked. Freaked means it behaved irrationally, and it just ran a mile away. And this lady, the woman who brought this cat, had seen the cat, and on the collar of this cat there was a phone number of them. But what happened with their phones? Due to the fire, it was destroyed, and it got disconnected. But this wonderful lady, he just worked hard to find out the real owners of this cat, and that's why now he got his cat back. As I sat there with my friends and my cat curled up in my lap, all the overwhelming feelings of loss and tragedy seemed to diminish. I felt gratitude for my life, my new friends, the kindness of a stranger, and the loud purr of my beloved cat. My cat was back, and so was I. Here we can see the total happiness of this writer. Right now, the writer has got everything. What all things he lost in his life, he is getting it back. He has lost his friends, and now he got new friends. And he lost his cat, he is getting new cat. Now he's rebuilding his house. So everything is back to normal, and he is totally feeling gratitude for his life, for all the things the God has showered on him, for the kindness of this strange lady, for the love of his new friend, and for his beloved cat. He is feeling gratitude, and he's thinking that his cat is back, and likewise he is also back to normal life. He is gonna to be a very happy person from now. So I hope you like this lesson, and it gives us an optimistic feeling towards life. What all things we are losing in our life, it doesn't last for longer. Soon we will get a new thing in our life which will vanish all the sorrows in our life. So I hope you understood it completely, and if you have any doubt, please clarify it at the earliest. Thank you.